I want to get right into it. My name is Sierra Gervier. I am a clinical mental health therapist. I have a private practice. I am independently licensed. I want to talk about the topic PMDD versus PMS. And from that title, I'm sure you know that we're talking about menstruation. One of the reasons why I wanted to come on this video, this is super raw and off the cuff. I do have a little bit of notes that I kind of want to just stay on topic because I can veer off. But one of the reasons why I do want to dive into this topic is because we're now entering into the winter months. For one, seasonal affect disorder is prevalent right now. I am getting a lot of clients for that reason. And I'm also getting clients, more specifically women who menstruate, that are experiencing symptoms that's associated with PMDD or premenstrual dysphoric disorder. This is something, full transparency, that I have suffered from a few years ago for a few years. And this is something that is not only personal but to me, but also in my professional realm. I do support and re-diagnose lots of women who have been misdiagnosed with other conditions apart from PMDD. So before we get started, I'm going to talk a little bit about PMS and what that is. And I feel like a lot of us know what PMS is. So some symptoms that's associated with PMS, typical symptoms, are bloating, headaches, breast tenderness, fatigue, lower back pain, cramps, sleep changes, food cravings, irritability, mood swings, trouble concentrating, and low mood. These are typical symptoms of PMS. We normalize it, we take medicine for it, we move on. It doesn't have a detrimental impact on our daily functioning, and I'm going to get into that in a second. However, PMDD is PMS's double of a sister. No exaggeration at all whatsoever. PMDD is more intense, emotional, have life-impacting symptoms. Some symptoms that is associated with PMDD are intense irritability or anger, depression, hopelessness, severe anxiety, panic attacks, sudden crying spells, or feeling out of control. And those crying spells, they literally come up for no warranted reason. There's nothing that triggered it. It just happens. Loss of interest in usual activities, extreme fatigue and low energy, sleep and appetite changes. A lot of women experience a lot of insomnia. And when you do experience insomnia, that trickles down to how you're moving throughout your day, the following day. That includes interacting with friends, relationships, work, daily activities, as I mentioned before. Done deal. We're not touching any of that because what is life? So some key differences with PMDD and PMS could look like, as I mentioned before, in a total interruption throughout your day. You are not going to work. You are calling in sick. You are not hanging out with friends. You're not doing anything that provides happiness in your life. That could be maybe your gym activities, working out. Oh, I do want to hit you guys with some facts, and I'm going to read from what I've researched, is that some studies show that 30 to 80% of people who menstruate experience PMS symptoms. Normal, right? However, around 1 to 6% meet the criteria for PMDD. PMDD is considered a severe form of premenstrual symptoms, and it can significantly affect your daily life, as I mentioned before. I kind of want to create a segment in my YouTube videos where I do talk about literally everything. My YouTube is all about mental health, of course, travel, and disability life, because I am a disabled individual. I do have disabled clients, physically disabled clients. And so I'm really passionate about those topics. But I do want to create a segment called Beyond the Couch. This segment is where, yes, in the intro of my video, or the bulk of my videos, I do want to talk a lot about mental health, travel, whatever those things are, disability life. But then I also want to create, especially when we focus mainly on the mental health portion of the videos that I do create, I do want to again create a small segment where I begin to humanize myself as a licensed clinician and talk about some of my personal struggles and experiences with the topics that we do discuss, if it does apply. With PMDD, as I mentioned before, I have struggled with it on my own, by myself, and it is hell. I know I didn't go too deep into the statistics of women that have been diagnosed with PMDD. I do want to refer to some of my own personal experiences. So, as I said, The reason why I want to do this is because I have noticed that within my sessions, humanizing myself with a sprinkle of self disclosure to some of my clients, I feel like it kind of pulls them in and they don't feel alone because, again, more specifically with PMDD, and this is mental health disorders just in general, but specifically with PMDD, it can feel very isolated and you can feel very much alone because, again, it is a heavily misdiagnosed condition or it's not diagnosed at all. What's my personal experience with PMDD? This is what I've personally found. I found that PMDD can come from two different points. So one point is just genetic, so general hormonal imbalance. The other can come from unprocessed trauma. For me, I do believe that my PMDD was triggered by unprocessed trauma. I'm not going to get into the trauma, but I will get into some of my symptoms and some of the things that I have done to help regulate my hormone. I'm going to try to make this really, really quick. Because of my trauma, and I didn't recognize this, being a clinician, I have recognized some of the symptoms that I've had. I know they say clinicians should never diagnose themselves, and I tried not to, but the symptoms were blaring in my face. And so I went to a psychiatrist, got confirmed diagnosis. I went to my medical doctor, got confirmed diagnosis from her as well. And so I knew that this was something real and I knew that I had to do something about it. Most psychiatrists and even doctors will prescribe medication to an antidepressant to help alleviate some of the symptoms that's associated with PMDD. However, for me, it didn't work. And that's a whole discussion on its own. I don't know if I just wasn't consistent enough. There's other factors that prevented me from getting a consistent prescription. It's a whole thing. But I have read online that even with some women, not all, but with some women, taking prescribed medications can make the symptoms worse. Now, I haven't had any clients in my sessions that have been diagnosed with PMDD and where their symptoms have gotten worse or worsened with prescribed medications. However, this is just something that I researched and read online. Again, pulling it back to me, I decided to take this is not sponsored, but if you want to sponsor me, you definitely can. Happy Mammoth. So what I did my research and I started to take a medication. Now, it's not even a medication, it's a supplement called Happy Mammoth. And they have a line of products. I haven't been on the website in a while and I haven't purchased anything from them in a while because I no longer have PMDD symptoms. However, I have purchased their one line of product called Hormone Harmony. This product worked. This product worked with regulating my hormones. It's all natural supplement ingredients, all natural, it's all plant-based. And so you're not getting any additives, colorants, or anything, at least since the last time I checked it out, which was about 2 years ago. So, I'm going based off of that time. So please definitely do your independent research when it comes to the products that I'm discussing. So I did take Happy Mammoth, the Hormone Harmony line, and it worked pretty well. It worked pretty well until it didn't. My symptoms did ebb and flow. There were some months where I didn't experience any PMDD, and then there were some months that it was pretty heavy. What I have read online is that, and this has not gone through clinical trials, so just side note with that, but I have read that GLP-1 medications, so this is your Wegovy, this is your Ozempic, I think that might be considered a GLP-2, but you get what I'm saying, like those weight loss medications that's pretty popular on the market right now. It helps regulate everything. It keeps your body intact and balanced. And so with that, of course, it's going to help balance your hormones. And so with the balanced hormones, you don't have PMDD symptoms. And so there is a link, and hopefully there are doctors and scientists that are out there that's conducting clinical research on this, because this is huge. Some of my symptoms that I have experienced personally was literally all the things that I mentioned above, but to take it a step further, I had suicidal ideation. I had suicidal thoughts, fleeting thoughts. I would never hurt or harm myself, but the way that PMDD works is that it tricks your mind into thinking all of those beliefs, maybe fleeting thoughts of beliefs that you had about yourself, they are 100% true, and they are exacerbated and catastrophized. So as I've mentioned, I have taken Happy Mammoth. it worked when it did, and I don't know if my body just got accustomed to the supplements, but it stopped working. And so, some of the things that I have done to best regulate myself that is recommended is to create maybe a soft week before your period. Because if you are diagnosed or if you do have PMDD symptoms, you will most likely experience those symptoms a week, sometimes even 2 weeks before your period. I have seen a lot of TikTok videos of women that would talk about how they only have full relief 2 weeks out of a month. Please, 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 please do not put yourself through all of this suffering. Please get some support. Please see a psychiatrist. Please see a medical doctor, and please have a therapist on deck. You need it. You definitely need it. If your symptoms were similar to some of the things that I've have experienced personally, please, please have a team of people that's there to support you, professionals. Some ways to try to alleviate and cope with some of the symptoms that's associated with PMDD is, again, creating a very soft week or two before your period. If it is attending to your obligations, which is probably work, maybe your kid, maybe you're married, in a relationship, whatever that is, maintain those obligations, but then also try to pour deeply into yourself. Now, pouring into yourself according to PMDD symptoms to try to relieve some of those symptoms could look like meditation. If you are religious or spiritual, that could look like maybe reading daily devotions. It could look like mindfulness work. It also looks like not hitting it hard in the gym if you are a gym rat, because the stress that you put on your body can absolutely add to the amount of stress that you're contributing internally. So that's on a physiological level. And so we don't want to do that. What we want to do is possibly do something that's low impact, such as a 20-30 minute walk, 15 to 30-minute walk. That could look like stretching, that could look like yoga, soft yoga and soft Pilates. Um, those are very low impact activities. For one, you're producing your happy hormones while you are adding some of those physical or continuing with your physical activities, but we're not doing stress filled activities that could look like CrossFit, weight training, running, long distance running. We want to stay away from all of that. We also want to consider what we're putting in our bodies. So that looks like whole foods. I know we're in a day in our lives in the world where we quick is we want something quick and easy. So those packaged foods, those ultra processed foods, yes, they can be delicious, and it's easy. However, it's really important to stick to whole foods and staying away from dairy and meat as much as you can, because we're consuming what these animals have consumed, and also their physical condition within that moment, and that includes hormones. So try to stay away from dairy, try to stay away from meat, and also heavily ultra processed foods. Try to eat those whole foods at least a week or two before your period. This is just a small video about this. Again, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this topic is because, for one, it had an impact on me, and two, I have a growing number of clients that have been either misdiagnosed or have been diagnosed with PMDD. If you guys have any questions, write them in the comment section below. I do know I don't have a big following of subscribers, but I do feel like I'm going to start pumping out some videos that's related to these topics if this is of interest. This is not just a mental health based channel. I do like to talk about travel. I do like to talk about physical disabilities. And again, all things that's associated with mental health that could be diagnosis. Also, I would like to target future clinicians. If you have any questions about how to become a mental health therapist, the whole licensure process, studying, all of that, I am pretty passionate about those things. So I'll probably include some of those videos in the future. Again, if you have any questions, please leave them down below in the comment section. And if you want, you can subscribe. It's free, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay.